introductory session of Microsoft Application Blocks. So what we'll do is that first we'll quickly go and see where we can download Microsoft Application Blocks from. What is the recent version, or what is the version on which this tutorial will be based, and then we will look into what does Microsoft Application Blocks basically provides us. So the first thing is you need to go to the patterns and practices page. And you can see the same on the screen. What you can do is that in order to land up to this page, you can either search in Google patterns and practices Microsoft, or either you can go to microsoft.com and search for patterns and practices. Once you land up to this page, what you can you'll see that there's a download section given in the same page, and you can see that there is Enterprise Library 4.0. So the current tutorial is based on Enterprise Library 4.0 using Visual Studio 2008. Once you download Enterprise Library 4.0 and you install it in your PC, what you will get is that you will get something like this: Enterprise Library Configuration. You will get this link, Microsoft Patterns and Practices, Enterprise Library 4.0, and Enterprise Library Configuration. So that's what is all about the installation part. Now, what does Enterprise Library really provides us? Open Enterprise Library Configuration, and you will see the configuration screen. What you do is that just go and open the web config file, so that I can really explain you practically what does Enterprise Library provides. Enterprise Library has bunch of reusable components, which you can utilize in your projects, rather than coding from scratch. For example, you can see that you have a caching application block, you have configuration application block for cryptography, etc. Now, what happens is when we start a software project using Microsoft technologies, these components are built from scratch. For example, in order to do some kind of caching in your application, you'll be probably coding your own caching routine by using static classes and etc. So rather than doing that from scratch, you can use the caching application block. In order to do some customized, in order to create configuration sources, you can use configuration sources. To do some encryption and cryptography routines, you can use a cryptography application block. Normally, what we do is that in our projects we do exception handling, and when we catch the exception, we try to log it in some file, and we do a lot of things. Rather than doing all these things, you can use the exception handling application block, ready-made exception handling application block. And in the same way, you have policy injection, security, validation, etc. So what Microsoft has done that it has provided reusable components in Enterprise Library, by which you can bring down your project time by approximately 60 to 70%. Believe me, 60 to 70% time. 70%, because if you look at the routines what they are provided, which you can reuse, the frameworks which they are provided, these form the probably 30 to 40%, or I can say consume 30 to 40% times of your project. For example, how many times have you used a cryptography block to you created own cryptography routine? How many times you have really used coded your own exception handling? So rather than coding them from scratch, if we can at least run through these ready-made components and see that what best fits in our project. So in this tutorial, what we'll do is that in the coming videos, what we'll do is that we'll step by step go through all these blocks and try to see that how we can actually understand them practically, go through some sample codes, actually do some labs practically, and then you can utilize them in your projects. So what I will suggest is that this is one of the very important part if you're working in software IT companies. Application blocks, many of the people really don't know about this, are not even aware of the enterprise application blocks. So because of that, they end up coding from scratch reusable components, and probably wasting their time around wasting their project precious time. So in the coming session, we will look through all these blocks step by step, and I'm sure that we can gain more productivity in our projects.